Right, guys. I got a good comment on something that I've been thinking about quite a lot for a couple of years now. Anyway, and I've come to my conclusion anyway. My answer prior to the question being asked or the point being made, which was it's a good subject, good point. From a guy called Noel. I'm assuming that it's the right name in the avatar. Some people put different names, but this is from Noel, and it's the question on would people leave if there was a hike in the cost of living, um, if Bulgaria or when Bulgaria joins the euro. They keep putting it off and putting it back on again. That's what they tend to do here, and I think they've got quite a lot of pushback off of quite a lot of people, maybe including some politicians and stuff like that, because everyone likes cash here and everyone likes the lev. So I don't really know who's pushing it, and there's opinion polls which vary, and it's always the majority of people here don't want the euro, and and there's a guy called Steve Henke, and he's a financial advisor to Bulgaria. He's an American guy, but he's been around Bulgaria and advising them for many years. No, not that you'd need an American to like coach these people on being frugal, or being fiscally sensible, which they are. The national debt to GDP is fantastic. I think it's the best now. I think it's surpassed Estonia. I'm not sure about that. It's either the first or the second best. I think it's 28% now, debt to GDP, which is good. So that's one thing, and the other thing is the lev is pegged to the euro, so there probably wouldn't be a huge hike because it's already the lev is pegged to the euro as we are now, and plus the food is in the supermarkets. The food is on par with most of Europe actually. It's probably about the same as the UK, and there are cheaper countries, but they're not in the EU. And I think there's only maybe two left that are cheaper for maybe Bosnia, but nobody ever mentions Bosnia. I don't think anybody ever goes there. I don't know anyone who goes there. And maybe if you count Moldova as part of Europe, that's probably cheaper for groceries, But then again, who's going to go there? Maybe me. Maybe me. I'll probably go to Transnistria or something. What's it called? There's another state there that everyone in the world ignores. It's like a little baby Russia. Transnistria, I think it's called, and it's got everything. It's a country, but so yeah. So with the hike, and Noel suggested that there would be from the UK expats that's here, the retired and semi-retired, of which I am the latter. I'd class myself maybe as semi-retired or still working if you count working online as still working. I do a few things, digital assets and stuff like that. But so would he said there'd be a mass exodus, or there may be. Now you'd have to have an awful big hike. And the first question I would say is where to. because it probably wouldn't be back to the UK because it's too expensive there to live generally, you know. And if you just had a hike here, like right now, I've done a few videos, and I live here on the minimum wage, Bulgarian wage, because I'm ultra frugal, and that's just how I live, you know. And I live on just over €5,000 per year, and I wouldn't say I struggle for anything or do without anything, you know, really. And I go on about 4 holidays a year, maybe 5 holidays on various day trips and whatever. Basically, whenever I want, and that's all on the minimum wage, and which is 31 lev per day, 7 days a week. That's what it works out to. Like €5,000 is just a bit less actually. It's about 27 lev per day, and that's generally what I live on. And people may or may not believe it, and but I just do it on a bank account basis, so it can't be wrong. You know, the figures, I don't add them up every day, or add the bills up. I live on from one bank account here, and it's January the 1st to January the 1st, right? And I may do, well, I haven't in the last couple of years used an English bank account for some things, but I haven't done it. And generally what I do is it's all cash except for when I go to Lidl once a month, which helps with the bank fees. That's why I do it, because I get one ATM withdrawal, and I go to the one that doesn't charge you. I do get charged an exchange rate because that account is in euros. Because when you sell property here and that, it's generally done in euros. So a lot of people have a euro account. So when I make a withdrawal from the ATM, it's a one-off exchange, and it's fixed here. Although you know you get charged a tiny little fee. It's not much. And then when I go to Lidl, the transaction there is a fee, but these are unavoidable because I've got the money in euro and not lev. So I keep it to a minimum by doing that, and I get the maximum possible. Well, I don't. You can get a bit more now. I get enough to go through the month with cash and the monthly shop in by card, and everything else is paid by cash. So it's irrelevant anyway because it's the account balance from January the 1st to January the 1st. So what would it take for me to exodus Bulgaria? I mean, if you own your house outright, which I do, and I've got everything, residency, permanent residency. I've got my driving license, Bulgarian, you know, the Bulgarian bank account, and everything else. And the only thing I've got that's UK is a gift gaff SIM card, pay as you go, which I you know I hardly ever top up. I only use that for logging in to various accounts and wallets and stuff like that. And where you get 2-factor authorization, you get like a message SMS. And that's the only thing I've got in the UK, really. And the pension, obviously, when that comes along, if I get there. So for me to move, I've been thinking about this, and I was thinking, well, it's getting cheaper in North Macedonia. But for me to move there, I'd probably have to rent, unless I went in there and bought, but then I'd have to start everything again. The residency and all that. And I'd probably lose the residency here if I sold the house. In fact, I probably would, yeah. Because I wouldn't have an address anymore here. So would I move if there was a hike? I mean, it'd have to be a hell of a hike, because it'd have to take into account, when I go somewhere else, I'd probably have to rent or sell up and buy again, and all the costs involved in that, and start all the process again. And then Macedonia, they may go into the Euro like 5 years later. There's a good chance of that, So, and where else could you go? That's the other. That would be the question. Where else? And that's a good question, actually, because it's a good question for those who don't want to come to Bulgaria. And where would you go? That's if you were looking for a low cost. That was one of your main priority. Was the cost of living was cheaper than the UK. And where would you go in Europe? It's there's only about 4 places where you could go, 5 maybe, which is Bulgaria, North Macedonia, Albania is not. I don't think it's that cheap there, really. It is cheaper, obviously, than the UK. You could have a look at Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, which is the forgotten land. You could go to Portugal, but the rents are going nuts there. And they keep changing all the rules on visas and all sorts of stuff. They don't know whether they're coming or going, Portugal. I'd keep away from it on a permanent living basis. And for me, it's hot. It's too hot in the summer, although it was hot here this year. Now, you could go also to Serbia. Now, if I was looking for a place from scratch and from the UK, I would probably go for North Macedonia. And that'd be kind of a risk, because they want to come into the EU, and they may well do. Or Serbia. And Serbia's good in certain places, like all countries, and it's very similar to Bulgaria, but I think Bulgaria is better in many ways. But and then you could go look at, you really could look at maybe Moldova, but it's quite close to the troubles at the moment. So where else could you go? You could look at Malta, and I don't think that's particularly dirt cheap. You could look at maybe Cyprus, and I don't think that's dirt cheap. Greece is not cheap, really. So suppose, I don't know, where could you go? And apart from that, there's South America, and that's a big step. Or you could go to the Far East, which it's never appealed to me as to go there to live. Although if it's just pure cost, you could look at Cambodia or Vietnam. Now I've been looking at Vietnam as a snowbird breakaway. Like you go there during the winter. The latter winter months here are tending to drag a bit now. And it could go there. And but the big cost there is the flights, obviously. So there's all these things to weigh up, and it'd take an awful big hike. Because if say things went up, if we joined the Euro here, you'd have to weigh up how much would it go up. The last place to join was Croatia, and who just joined, and they had a little bit of a hike, but now they all seem to be happy. They've equalised everything. I don't know how they've done it. They've probably put the parking charges up because you pay to park everywhere there, and all the roads, they're very expensive, the tolls. Anything like that in Croatia, it's not cheap at all. I don't think, but so they seem to have. There was a report. I don't know whether it's propaganda or whatever, but they say it's sorted itself out. Maybe they put the wages up in line with the euro. I don't know, but they do say here that, and that probably would have to happen here. They will probably have to put the wages up, the local wages, but that doesn't help me. And Noel has a point that, like, if you've got something that's not linked to Bulgaria, an income, well, it's going to affect you. But how much would it affect you? Like me, I mean, they could only put the shop prices up here. They wouldn't get away with a big hike. They just wouldn't get away with it. People here, they don't have things like that, They just go to the government and knock on the door, and they don't protest like here and get beaten up by the police. They do it different ways, and the government listen, and they haven't got a government anyway. But when they hiked it's interesting when they hiked up the electric and the petrol in the petrol stations. The government subsidised the people, and you wouldn't get that in the UK. And that might happen here for temporary. Even pensioners, but they did it for everyone. With the petrol, they subsidised the hike, and you used to just go with your V5 to the petrol station, and they give you the discount. And it was substantial, It was worthwhile having. And they did the same with the electricity, domestic electricity. They put a cap on it. They said you can't hike it anymore, and it's come down now, and the petrol's come right down. Because people here, they don't just carry on and take it on the chin like the Brits. They just don't. They just won't go out because it's not like a welfare state. It's not like where people just borrow forever. It is creeping in, but not at the moment. But, they just won't go out, and the economy just stops. That's what happened in 2007. There's nobody outside because people here are frugal, and they instead of going out 3-4 times a week, they'll just go out once to the shops. That's what happens. So would there be an effect? Well, of course there would, yeah. And would there be a hike? Yeah, probably would be. And would it make me leave Bulgaria? And the answer is definitely no. I mean, it's where else you could go. That's the first question. I have asked myself these questions previously. And is it worth me while to go elsewhere? Now, it may be worth me while to go and spend time somewhere. They're cheap, like for a few months of the year, like in the winter where the energy costs are the highest, And there's only one place I can find where it actually save money by going there and paying rent. That's the kicker, the rent. You've got to save all that rent. And that's got to equal what you spend here if you're going elsewhere, And I think there's only one place who could kind of match it, and that's Madagascar. and that looks a bit rough and ready. But like, it's an option, or I could spend a bit more. It would cost me, actually, but it'd be a break to go to Vietnam. It would be a break in the winter, and actually in the summer I'd be looking at. I have been looking at Mauritius, and that wouldn't save me money going there. It's just cooler than here in the summer. Maybe for August and maybe July and August, go over there. But again, you got the flight and you've got the rent, and that so it'd be more of a holiday. So where could you go permanently if there was a hike here? And it's only going to be, it won't be more than 20%. I don't think with the euro, because we're already pegged to the euro. The lev is already pegged to the euro. Has been for 20 more years, about 25, 26 years. So would it be a major hike? I don't think so. You might get an increase in property prices, actually, which would be good if you own your house, if you're going to sell it. So that's it. It's a good. It's good to weigh up all them things, but the question would be, where would you go? And so if there's any ideas on that, comment. But it wouldn't be back to the UK, would it? Because because things there are like mega more expensive. We're not going to go back to parity with the UK. The cost of living here. If I'm on €5,000 now, how am I going to get to like what it would cost me in the UK, which is probably be about €30,000? That's what it would probably cost me to live in the UK, and I'm paying 5,000 here at the moment, and I'm expecting it to go up gradually anyway. But the UK pension goes up, so by the time I get to pension age, the pension will have gone up incrementally anyway. Now the other worry on this topic is if the pound collapsed, but the euro didn't. That would be a problem for retirees here. I think that would be a what's his name? That's why I have a lot of assets not in pounds. Okay, cheers.